What is up, people? I am back here today for Throwback Thursday. Yes, it is Thursday, so I'm doing a Throwback Thursday. For those who know what it is, sit back and relax. I'm going to explain it a little bit more. For those who haven't seen any of these, this is where I go through my collection of movies and I bring back old school stuff from my childhood, being from the late 80s throughout the 90s, stuff that now I guess is called considered classics. Every week I try to do something different. I think this is the fourth installment. I did Disney stuff and Nickelodeon stuff. This week I'm doing, well, partly because of the Olympics, sports, and everything. I'm going to bring back old school movies that have to do with sports. Not like Rudy and stuff. I'm talking about kids movies, stuff that was geared towards kids. First one here. I haven't seen this movie in a while. I kind of forgot the premise. I remember liking the movie. It's just that there's some that I watch a little bit more than this one. And it's Walt Disney's The Big Green, about soccer. You got a few kids from some of the sports movies. You got the kid Hamilton Porter and Squints from Sandlot. The one kid, Bug Hole, from, The Little Rascals. You got Steve Guttenberg in here. It's pretty much about a team or a school that has these kids that really don't have much anything going on. They decide to make a soccer team, even though in the beginning they're not that good. They end up, becoming a team and becoming good. I wish I could talk more about this, but I don't remember it too much. This one here stars Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's got Jim Varney, and it's got Jay Brazu, who I don't remember who that is. But it's Dunk Ernest. This is one of the Ernest movies. I love these movies. As a kid, it's goofy, it's whatever. It's an adult in acting like a kid in most of the movies, Scared Stupid and Ernest Goes to Camp and stuff. But this one, he tries out for the basketball team, and, in the beginning he sucks. And then he runs into Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's character, and he ends up getting these shoes that, I don't remember if it's like a chip implanted in these shoes, or something is with these shoes that give him amazing basketball ability. More of just like jumping and air and everything, where he can just has like a 15-second hang time or whatever. But he ends up making the team and becoming like a huge sports star kind of deal. And then he loses his in the beginning when someone's very proper and very humble, where he loses that, and because he's getting so big and everything. It's your typical Ernest, goofy, whatever movie. I love it. If you haven't seen it, I'd say check it out. This one here, I remember this kid. I don't remember the kid's name offhand, but I know he's in a kid in King Arthur's Court. He's been in a few. He was in a few movies back then. He was like one of the kids you've seen in a lot of the movies back then. Rookie of the Year, and that's where he is a pitcher in Little League, and he ends up slipping on a baseball and breaking his arm. And the way he breaks his arm, something with the tendons and everything, he gains the ability to throw the fastball like 100 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour plus. And he's a Little League. He's like 11, 12 years old. So scouts are checking this out, and the Cubs end up signing him, and he's on the team now. So he's a Little Leaguer in major leagues, throwing the ball faster than some of these old pitchers. And it's just him learning or going through Major League Baseball. At one point, this is a little spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, he slips on a baseball again and loses it, so then he's kind of got to find a way to get around this point, because now he can't even reach the plate. But it's a good. I was never really into baseball all that much. So I never, I guess, got into this one as much, but what could you do? This one having to do with the Winter Olympics, they had this sport in there, and it's Walt Disney's Cool Runnings. You got three Jamaican sprinters, and this guy Sanka. And in the beginning, three of the guys, the guy Junior, the guy Yul Brenner, and this guy Darius, they are sprinters, like I said. They're training for the Olympics, and they're going to qualify, and they're in this race, and one of the guys trips and knocks the other two down, so they all lose their pretty much shot to go to the Olympics as sprinters. So they find out that John Candy, he's in this movie, he is an old school bobsled coach, or has done stuff with bobsled. So they end up going and talking to him and, trying to make a bobsled team. And it's their trials and tribulations going through training and such. Being from Jamaica, it's cold. One of my favorite parts in this is they have an ice cream truck, and the guy Sanka, he ends up going in there, and they open up this little door, and he pops out, and his braids are all frozen. And they ask him if he's dead, and he says, "Yeah, man, that's his thing." And eventually, they actually make it to the U.S. and make it into the Olympics. I'm not going to spoil anything. If you've seen the movie, you know what happens. If not, you got to watch it. One of the other parts in this, which I found actually pretty funny, is the guy Sanka. He has this little lucky egg that before every match he ends up kissing for good luck. And supposedly, I don't know what team it is. It might be Jamaica or something. They had a commercial about it. Someone does that too. Someone carries an egg around them and kisses it for good luck, and they attribute it to this movie. This is a classic bobsled movie. It's just a classic movie overall. If you haven't seen it, I'd say watch it. Another Winter Olympic sport that I actually just watched watched the U.S. women lose, but what could you do? I mean, they got the silver medal. Would have been nice to have a gold, but anyway, this is a hockey movie, and most of you should know what this is, and it's The Mighty Ducks, starring Emilio Estevez and a bunch of little kids. What happens is Emilio Estevez is a lawyer in the beginning, a lawyer, and he ends up getting a DUI and has to serve community service. And what he has to do is coach hockey, because when he was younger, he played pee-wee hockey and was like a very big star. So they're like, you know what, to make up for it, you're going to go back to your roots, you're going to coach hockey. But what he gets is D5, which is the rejects, I guess, of hockey. They lost every single one of their games the last season before. They are, I guess, crazy little kids that some of them are little terrors and whatever, but they end up coming together and forming the Mighty Ducks, and winning this whole little championship. So, going from the first Mighty Ducks, you get this one I like a little bit more than the first one, and it's Mighty Ducks 2, where they are now, I guess it's a year, or I think they said it's a year, but they all look a lot older because I think this movie came out like 2 or 3 years or even 4 after the first one. But now we're picked to represent the USA. Don't ask me how just one whole team from Minnesota could represent USA, but it happens that way. I like it because, actually, let me just sidetrack. I like watching these movies now. I still love them, but now being older, you catch a lot more mess ups in these movies than when you were a kid. So, in this movie, like I said, it's a little weird that they just pick one team from Minnesota, but anyway, they pick them to represent Team USA in the Goodwill Games, which is almost like a little Olympics kind of deal for teenagers. So they get picked, and some of the kids from the first one happen to be gone, and they end up picking up, I think it's 5 new people. This one kid, Kenny Wu, is an Olympic figure skater, so they transformed him into a hockey player. Julie the Cat Gaffney, which is the goalie, she's one of the best. You got this kid, Dean Portman, who is like a tough guy kind of deal. Him and Fulton get along, become the Bash Brothers. You got the kid, Benny the Jet, that plays Benny the Jet in Sandlot. I forget what his name is in this, but he's like this quickest skater out there, and he can't stop. Then you got this guy, I think it's Dwayne Robinson or something, where he's the best stick handler around. He's really good with handling the puck. Anyway, pretty much they're one of the favorites to win this, besides this Iceland team. One of the mess-ups that I notice a lot, well, not notice a lot, but notice in this movie is one of the points they end up going to, or one of the kids that are one of the fans are like heckling the coach because they're losing and everything. It happens to be Kenan Thompson from All That and Kenan and Kel. And at one point he ends up getting Team USA to go and play street hockey with his team, his boys or whatever. But it's funny because, you know, if Team USA is at this Goodwill Games, how the hell are they just going to be able to leave this establishment and play hockey with this street team? Anyway, they play it and they learn a few things, and they end up picking up the Kenan or his character, because at one point, this is another part in this movie I don't get. I don't know if it's just because I don't know hockey or because they screw up, or at one point in this, 2 people get kicked out when they go to play Iceland. In the first 2 minutes, or first couple minutes, 2 people get kicked out. Dean Portman does something, and he checks the kid or something, and he ends up getting kicked out for the game. Then at one point, they bring in Julie the Cat Gaffney, and these 2 guys are heckling her, and she asks them to tie her shoes, and she hits them, and she gets kicked out for attempt to hurt or attempt to injure. So she's out of the game. And then at one point in this, the kid that plays Adam Banks, he's going, he scores a goal, he puts his arm out, and this guy comes and just slashes the crap out of his arm, injures him, and he gets a penalty for 2 minutes. I don't understand this, because they said the one girl got kicked out for intention to hurt, but this guy just full out slashes the hell out of his arm, and he gets a 2-minute penalty. Anyway, like I said, I don't know too much about hockey, but they end up bringing, because Adam is hurt, they end up bringing in Kenan's character, who has this, you know, Fulton has that huge shot that is like a fastball kind of deal. This kid Kenan has a knuckle puck where he puts the puck up on an angle, and he hits it, and it flips around and everything. I like this movie better than the first one, and you know, it's Walt Disney, so Team USA ends up winning. Little spoiler alert. But I like this movie a little bit better than the first one. The third one wasn't really my cup of tea. I don't own it. Eventually I will get it just because I'm a completist, but the third one wasn't as good as these 2. Now I'm getting to my 2 favorite kids movies. These 2 are probably actually in my top 10 movies of all time. Not because they're the greatest. There's a lot of mess-ups on these 2, but because these are the movies that I can watch any given time, over and over and over. I could watch it probably 5 times in a row, not get bored with it, and just keep on going and watching. So this first one here is The Sandlot, 20th anniversary. It's pretty much around these kids, based around these kids that, you know, play baseball at this little lot. They call it the Sandlot. And this new kid, he moves into town, and eventually he gets called Smalls. So Smalls moves into town and doesn't really know too many people. So the one day he goes for a walk, goes to the Sandlot, finds these kids playing. And the one kid, Benny the Jet Rodriguez, he lives down the street, ends up talking to this kid, and they're not a full team. They have 8 players, so they need one more. So he kind of convinces this kid to play with them. He doesn't know how to play at first, but in 2 seconds, Benny the Jet teaches him how to catch, how to throw, and now he's a baseball player in 2 seconds. Like I said, they're not great edited movies or very well thought, because in these movies there's parts where you're just like, there's no way possible, but they're great movies overall. Anyway, into the story. This Sandlot is right next to this house where they say a beast lives, this gigantic dog that has eaten a kid and everything. So if any balls get hit into this yard, they're pretty much gone. So at one point in this movie, the plot really thickens, and the kid Benny the Jet ends up hitting this ball, and the guts break open and such, and they can't play baseball anymore because they're down a ball. No one has pretty much any money. But Smalls is like, you know what, my stepfather has this ball. Let me go get it. He gets this ball, hits a home run with it, and is all shocked. They're like, you know what, maybe the shock of his first home run kind of got to him. That's actually one of the quotes from the movie. But later you find out that the ball is actually signed by Babe Ruth, and they got to go and get this ball. So they're pretty much these kids against this gigantic dog. They try different things with vacuums and like a connector set and everything. But eventually, you know what happens, because hopefully as everyone has seen this movie. If not, get it, because I don't want to give too much away. But this is The Sandlot. And this one probably is my favorite movie overall. Not ever, but favorite kids sports movie. It stars Rick Moranis and Ed O'Neill. They're two brothers, the O'Shea brothers. In the beginning, Ed O'Neill's character is like the big head honcho kind of deal, the sports athlete of this small town called Urbania. So eventually, you see them, they're all grown up. Kevin went to college and became a sports star, comes back, owns a dealership, and pretty much he becomes the coach of, they call it the Urbania Cowboys. So all these kids in the beginning, they try out for this team. One being Rick Moranis' daughter, they call her the Icebox, and she's probably one of the best kids out there, even though she's a girl. She doesn't make the team, and she gets pissed pretty much and decides to make her own little team, I guess you want to call it, of people that didn't make the team in the beginning, and then she goes and recruits all these other people. Rick Moranis ends up becoming the coach of this. This movie I like a lot, but there's a lot of mess-ups in this movie. There's about, I think I remember counting with my friends. I used to play high school football, and we had triples one day, where if you don't know what triples are, you would practice for around 3.5 hours, and they give you an hour lunch. So when we went for lunch the one time, we went to my friend's house, and we ended up watching this, and we ended up counting, like, I think it was around 10 mess ups. But a few of the bigger mess ups are, at one point, Heenan, they call this kid Hot Hands Heenan, doesn't know how to catch, and to make himself catch, he puts this like hot tar on it and on his hands to try to catch this ball. But he forgets that it's really sticky, so they break, they get out of a huddle, and he puts his hands together, and they're now stuck. So then at one point, I guess, trying to wipe it off, he puts his hands on his chest, and now he's stuck, like moving his hands and everything. But every other scene you see, his hands are either open or closed, like stuck or whatever. That's one of the like mess up parts. And another part is at the end, eventually these two teams play each other for rights to the town. Whoever wins this game becomes the new team of the town. So at the end of the game, at the end of the movie, it's them two playing each other for rights. So at one point, right before the game, they're all in the locker room, and earlier in the movie, you see that the town come together for like a little pep rally kind of deal. The team comes together, and they introduce all these kids. Right before the game, all of a sudden, these two random people just come. I mean, I guess they could have recruited them before, but why wouldn't these two kids be in the house with like the rest of the pep rally? These two kids just poof and come out of nowhere. Well, like I said, all these movies aren't the best of the best, but you know, it's a childhood favorite of mine. Another part in this movie is the one scene where the one little kid, he has problems and his mom is very afraid for him, but she lets him play football anyway. It reminds me of the Christmas Story where the kid is wrapped up in all the jackets and everything and can't move his arms. Well, this kid comes in this gigantic like wrap, and he tells Rick Moranis that his mom told him that the pad that he gave him wasn't good enough, so he's got all this padding and everything wrapped around him, and these kids are pushing him back and forth and back and forth, and he ends up running into the goalpost. I mean, these movies I love wholeheartedly, but overall this one I think is the best. If you haven't seen it, you have to see it. It's a must. I must say it's a must. You have to see it. But anyway, that was my Throwback Thursday this time. Old sports movies. If I missed any, if you have other ones that you enjoyed when you were younger, leave me some comments. Leave me some comments anyway. Just let me know how I did. If you hate what I do or whatever, comments are always welcome. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like my other videos and you like what I do, feel free to subscribe. I got a Facebook fan page. I got a Facebook group page. I got a Twitter. I got an Instagram. So those links will be on the bottom of here. And I guess until next time, I'll see you.